What's a hill that you're willing to die on 1,000% of the time?
The companies nationwide are posting jobs everywhere and putting up help wanted signs all over the place with zero intent to hire so that they do not have to pay back the PPP loan. If you read through the loan, you will realize if they are unable to fill those positions, that loan turns into a grant that they do not have to pay back to the government. Therefore, if they can fake it and fraudulently cheat the government out of that money back, they are doing so. It is fraud by all of these companies.
What's a hill that you're willing to die on 1,000% of the time? I'll go first.
I'll go second. People that think next weekend is referring to the upcoming weekend are living life wrong. When you, on Monday, invite someone to do something next weekend, that is not the upcoming weekend. That is the weekend after that. The upcoming weekend is this weekend. The weekend after that is next weekend. You can Google it. You can fight me on it, but I will die on this hill, or we can reschedule. I don't know, but that.
What's a hill that you're willing to die on 1,000% of the time?
Infertility. Every time I will die on this hill. Here's why. 1 in 4 couples will experience male or female factor infertility. 1 in 4. That means that you know someone who has tried to have a baby and couldn't. And you don't know if it's because their body is working against them or their body just can't for one reason or another. But it happens way more than you think. And for some reason, it's some dirty little secret that we're not allowed to talk about. That's crazy. When you want to have a baby and you can't, you need all the support you can get. And then when that baby gets here, you need way more support, but that's totally separate. Infertility, I will die on this hill every time because we don't talk about it and we push these couples aside and we just tell them to figure it out and pay zillions of dollars to have a baby.
What's a hill that you're willing to die on 1,000% of the time?
Religion is just the social expression of the fear of death.
What's a hill that you're willing to die on 1,000% of the time?
The only hill I'm willing to die on, ever, is that Jesus is the Christ.
What's a hill that you're willing to die on 1,000% of the time?
Listen, I can chew as loud as I want to, okay? And you should, because it makes food taste better. You have a lot of taste buds on your tongue and around your mouth. And if you don't move shit all over it, then you won't get to taste all of the food that is so delicious. There's a car coming. But that's my choice.
What is a hill you will die on 1,000% of the time?
Addiction is the disease, and I don't give a flying fuck how you feel about it because it is objectively, factually true. And people say it's not a disease because it was a choice somebody made. And a choice being involved is not mutually exclusive with something being a disease. Addiction as a disease is an underlying mapping of the brain that makes somebody who will be an addict react that way to substances. It's why some people get fucked up the first time and some people can use casually and not have an active addiction to a substance. And the involvement of a choice does not directly or in any way contradict whether or not addiction is a disease, because we have plenty of other things that we recognize as diseases that may have started with a choice. For instance, somebody who smoked all their life and had lung cancer, we still consider that to be a disease, and it's a disease we think we should treat, but a choice was involved there. Also, if somebody who's had a poor diet management for a while experiences, cardiac issues or maybe type 2 diabetes in some cases, even if a choice factor led there, that's still a disease. They're still diseases. And the only way you're going to help addicts is if you recognize that it's a disease, because you fundamentally don't understand it if you don't see that. And I will fight anybody who's arguing that people shouldn't be given Narcan, or they should only be able to get it a couple of times, and after that, you just let them go. And I'm just like, dead people do not recover. If you want somebody to recover, you can't take that, you can't make a barrier out of that. So if you, in any case, favor withholding Narcan, I don't think you actually care about that person's recovery. You don't. You can't. If you're indifferent to the fact that they may die, your interests are somewhere else. And I swear, if somebody gets in here and starts talking about, well, why isn't insulin free and all this other stuff that somebody can get Narcan, I'm not going to have that argument, because I don't think that shit should cost that much money either. And those things don't affect one another. Like, the presence of Narcan does not make it harder to get insulin. Like, they're not related. Addiction is the disease, and that is objectively true, and it does not matter how you feel about it. Even if they make a choice to pick up, their brain, long before that, was hardwired to respond that way to that substance. Was it preventable? Maybe, but that doesn't make it not a disease.
What is a hill you're willing to die on 1000% of the time?
There is no such thing as the one. Literally, it does not exist. Do I believe that two people can cultivate a beautiful monogamous union and spend an eternity together? Absolutely. Do I believe there's only one person in this world that they can do that with? Hell no. And the idea that there's only one person has historically been especially harmful for girls and women, because it forces us to cling to every person we form strong connections with, regardless of whether those connections are toxic, whether they have longevity. We just cling to people we love. The truth is that if you allow yourself to, you will fall in love several times over, and each of those loves will be very beautiful, very unique, and more than likely for a season. This is especially true if you feel like you might want marriage or a committed relationship. Like, how do you know that you did the best you can do if you settled for the first person that you fell in love with? Literally, there are billions of people in this world. Billions. Date them all. And when you feel like you're ready to settle down, may the best nigga win.
What's a hill that you're willing to die on 1000% of the time? I'll go first.
The minimum wage has to be a living wage. That's it. That's the starting point. That is the baseline. That is where we begin living. Because you cannot exist less than living. It doesn't work. You want somebody to show up and do the job you don't want to do or can't do? You have to pay them enough, at least, to continue fucking existing. And then the better they get at their job, the more important their job becomes, the more you can pay them. But this is the baseline right here. Living, and then you go up from there, okay? You don't start down here and work your way up to living. That doesn't fucking work, okay? It does not fucking work. No, that's not a stepping stone. That's not job experience. That's not doing poor people favors. No, that's not a job even. A job that doesn't pay you enough to live on is not a job. It's a fucking hobby, okay? And I got enough of those. Minimum wage.
What's a hill that you're willing to die on?
That everyone's attracted to trans people. It doesn't have to be every single trans person. But guess what? You're attracted to trans people.